Alex's voice was barely above a whisper. She let them take turns with her, on the football field. Those words made my blood boil, but there was an even more painful truth I discovered after serving the divorce papers. Let's start from the beginning. I pushed open the heavy wooden door of O'Malley's pub, the familiar scent of stale beer and peanuts washing over me. The place was buzzing with its usual Friday night crowd, but I spotted Alex easily. He was already at our regular booth, nursing a pint of lager. "Hey, little bro," I said, sliding into the seat across from him. "How's it hanging?" Alex's face lit up. "Mark, man, I thought you might bail on me tonight. Isn't it quarter end at the firm?" I shrugged, flagging down a waitress. "It is, but I wouldn't miss our Friday night tradition." "One beer won't kill me." I turned to the approaching server. "I'll have what he's having, thanks." As she walked away, I leaned back, taking in Alex's appearance. He looked good, tanned and fit from football practice. But there was something in his eyes, a hint of worry that didn't quite match his easy smile. "So how's the team doing? You guys ready to crush state next week?" I asked, trying to get him to open up. Alex took a long swig of his beer before answering. "Yeah, we're in good shape. I don't know, man. Something weird is going on with the guys." I raised an eyebrow. "Weird how?" He shrugged, looking uncomfortable. "It's hard to explain. They keep talking about this new team fun thing. Always whispering about it, acting all secretive. What, like hazing?" I frowned, my protective instincts kicking in. "Nah, nothing like that," Alex said quickly. "At least I don't think so. It's just odd. They keep asking if I want to join in, but won't give me details." My beer arrived, and I took a grateful sip. "Well, be careful, all right? You know how these things can get out of hand." Alex nodded, then suddenly changed the subject. "Hey, speaking of being careful, how are things with Jenny?" The question caught me off guard. "What do you mean?" "Things are fine." He hesitated, picking at the label on his bottle. "It's just, I saw her at the grocery store the other day. She seemed kind of down, said you've been working late a lot. I felt a twinge of guilt. Yeah, this quarter's been brutal, but we're good, really." Alex leaned forward, his voice dropping. "Look, bro, maybe you should spend more time with her. She's looking kind of lonely these days." I laughed, trying to brush off the unease his words stirred in me. "Come on, Alex. Jenny knows how important my job is. She understands." But even as I said it, I couldn't shake the feeling that maybe, just maybe, I was missing something important. I couldn't shake the unease that had settled in my gut after talking with Alex. As I drove home that night, his words about Jenny kept echoing in my head, but I pushed them aside. Alex was probably just projecting his own relationship issues onto us. When I got home, Jenny greeted me with a smile that seemed brighter than usual. She was wearing new workout clothes, her hair pulled back in a ponytail. "Hey, babe, how was your day?" she asked, giving me a quick peck on the cheek. "Fine, just the usual." I shrugged off my jacket. "You going to the gym?" "Yeah, they've got a new spin class I want to try out." She grabbed her water bottle from the counter. "Don't wait up, okay?" As she left, I noticed a spring in her step that I hadn't seen in a while. It should have made me happy, but instead, it left me feeling off. Over the next few weeks, I started noticing more little changes. Jenny was spending more time on her appearance, buying new clothes, even changing her perfume. She'd always taken care of herself, but this felt different somehow. One night, as we were getting ready for bed, I caught a glimpse of her phone screen lighting up with a text. The name was unfamiliar. Mike from spin class. My stomach twisted, but I said nothing. At work, I buried myself in spreadsheets and financial reports, trying to drown out the nagging voice in my head. But it was getting harder to ignore. At first, they were so faint I could barely hear them. A neighbor giving me a strange look as I mowed the lawn. A friend trailing off mid-sentence when Jenny's name came up. One Saturday, I was grabbing coffee at our local spot when I overheard two women at the next table. I'm telling you, I saw her with him at Bellini's last week. Poor Mark has no idea. They quickly changed the subject when they noticed me, but the damage was done. My hands shook as I left. coffee forgotten on the counter. I wanted to confront Jenny to demand answers, but fear held me back. What if I was wrong? What if I was just being paranoid? So I said nothing. I worked longer hours, came home later, anything to avoid facing the growing pit in my stomach. But the whispers kept coming, growing louder with each passing day. I walked into O'Malley's, the familiar smell of stale beer and cigarette smoke hitting me as I pushed through the heavy wooden door. My eyes scanned the dimly lit room until they landed on Alex, slouched in our usual booth. I made my way over, sliding onto the worn leather seat across from him. "Hey, bro," Alex said, his voice tight. He wouldn't meet my eyes. "What's up?" I asked, flagging down a waitress for a beer. Alex fidgeted with his phone, his knuckles white around the device. "Nothing much, just team stuff." I raised an eyebrow. "Team stuff?" "Everything okay?" He shrugged, still not looking at me. "Yeah, it's fine. Just some of the guys talking about team fun activities." "It's probably nothing." The waitress returned with my beer, and I took a long pull, studying Alex over the rim of the glass. "Be careful with that stuff, okay? You don't want to get mixed up in anything sketchy." Alex nodded quickly. Yeah, I know." He paused, then finally looked up at me. "Hey, how are things with Jenny?" I felt my stomach clench. "Fine. Why do you ask?" I saw her the other day. She seemed, I don't know, off." I waved a hand dismissively. "She's fine. We're fine. Don't worry about it." But as I sat there, nursing my beer and trying to keep up a conversation with Alex, I couldn't shake the uneasy feeling that had settled in my gut. Days passed, and that feeling only grew. Jenny was spending more time on her appearance, always checking her phone with a little smile. I caught glimpses of texts from someone named Sam, but when I asked, she just said it was a new friend from her yoga class. The whispers started small. A knowing look from a neighbor, a hesitation when I mentioned Jenny's name to a coworker, but they grew louder, harder to ignore. Still, I buried myself in work, telling myself I was being paranoid. Then came the night that changed everything. I was sitting in my home office, poring over spreadsheets, when my phone rang. The caller ID showed it was Mike, an old college buddy who had moved to the same neighborhood a few years back. "Hey Mike, what's up?" There was a long pause. "Mark, I think you need to hear something." My stomach dropped. "What is it?" Mike's voice was hesitant, almost pained. "It's about Jenny. Look man, I hate to be the one to tell you this, but something's wrong. She's been seen around town with these young guys. It doesn't look good, Mark. You need to find out what's going on." The words hit me like a physical blow. I mumbled some kind of thanks and hung up, my mind reeling. I sat there for what felt like hours, staring at nothing, until a text from Alex jolted me back to reality. "You free for a beer?" I texted back immediately, "O'Malley's." Now. 20 minutes later, I was back in that familiar booth. A untouched beer in front of me. Alex walked in, his face falling as he saw my expression. "Mark, what's wrong?" I looked up at him, my eyes hard. "Sit down." He slid into the booth, his face pale. "You're scaring me, bro." "Tell me what you know," I said, my voice low and dangerous. Alex's eyes widened. "What?" Don't bullshit me, Alex." "Tell me what you know about Jenny." He swallowed hard, his eyes darting around the bar. "I don't, Alex." My voice was like steel. "Tell me now." He took a shaky breath, then the words started pouring out. "Jenny. She met some of my teammates at the college bar a while back. She started hanging out with them more, even when I wasn't around. One night, it turned into something more. They started calling it their team fun. I felt like I was going to be sick. "What do you mean, team fun?" Alex's voice was barely above a whisper. She let them take turns with her. On the football field, my fists clenched at my sides, my nails digging into my palms. The world seemed to tilt on its axis as I struggled to process what I was hearing. "They're meeting again tomorrow night," Alex added, his voice small and scared. On the football field, the information hit me like a jolt of electricity. Rage and adrenaline coursed through my veins, making my vision blur at the edges. Why, I growled, my voice raw with emotion. Why didn't you tell me this before? Why were you keeping this to yourself? Alex flinched, tears welling up in his eyes. I was scared, ashamed. I didn't know how to tell you. I'm so sorry, Mark. I'm so fucking sorry. I stared at him, my brother, feeling a mixture of betrayal and pity. The anger was still there, burning hot in my chest, but now it had a focus, a target. I sat in my car, parked outside our house, my knuckles white on the steering wheel. The last rays of sunlight were fading, casting long shadows across the driveway. I couldn't bring myself to go inside. Not yet. Not when I knew what was waiting for me. My phone buzzed. It was Alex again. I ignored it. Hours ticked by. The streetlights flickered on, casting an eerie glow over the neighborhood. My mind raced, replaying Alex's words over and over. Jenny, my Jenny. With those fucking animals. I started the engine and peeled out of the driveway. I needed to drive to clear my head, but every mile I covered only fueled my anger. As dawn broke, I found myself in an empty parking lot. My phone showed a dozen missed calls from Jenny. I ignored them all and dialed Joe instead. Mark, what's up, man? It's ass o'clock in the morning. Joe's groggy voice came through. I need your help, I said, my voice sounding foreign to my own ears. Can you meet me at my place this evening and bring David? There was a pause. Yeah, sure, everything okay? No, I replied. I'll explain later, just come prepared. I hung up and called David next, repeating the same cryptic message. The day passed in a blur. I couldn't face going home, couldn't bear to see Jenny. I drove aimlessly, my mind a storm of rage and betrayal. As evening fell, I finally pulled into my driveway. Joe's pickup was already there, David's motorcycle parked next to it. I took a deep breath and got out of the car. They were waiting for me on the porch, concern etched on their faces. I led them inside without a word, straight to the garage. All right, Mark, Joe said, crossing his arms. What's going on? I leaned against my workbench, my hands gripping the edge. Jenny's been cheating on me, I said, the words tasting like ash in my mouth, with Alex's football teammates. They call it team fun. The garage fell silent. I could feel their eyes on me, could practically hear the gears turning in their heads. Jesus Christ, David muttered. Are you sure? I nodded, my jaw clenched. Alex told me everything. It's happening again tonight, on the football field. Joe stepped forward, placing a hand on my shoulder. What do you need from us, brother? I looked up at them, my two oldest friends. I need your help to teach them a lesson they'll never forget. David's eyes widened. Mark, think about what you're saying. This could get really ugly. It's already ugly, I spat. They've been passing my wife around like she's nothing. Like our marriage means nothing. Joe and David exchanged glances. Finally, Joe spoke up. All right, we're with you. What's the plan? I walked over to a cabinet and pulled out 3 baseball bats. We go to the field, we wait, and when those bastards show up, we make sure they never touch Jenny again. David hesitated, but Joe nodded grimly. I'm in, he said, taking one of the bats. After a moment, David grabbed a bat too. This is crazy, he muttered. I've got your back, Mark. We changed into dark clothing, pulled on gloves and fashioned makeshift masks from old t-shirts. As we stood in my garage, armed and ready, a part of me knew this was insane, but the rage burning in my chest drowned out any voice of reason. Let's go, I said, leading them out into the night. We parked about a block away, leaving the car hidden between some trees. My heart was hammering, the kind of steady thud that almost felt loud enough to be heard. Joe in the back seat was quiet, messing with the straps on his mask, while David was staring straight ahead, locked in his own thoughts. Let's get this done, I muttered, pulling my own mask over my face. The black fabric felt suffocating for a second, but I pushed that aside. Couldn't afford to lose nerve now. Joe and David fell in line as we slipped from the car, hugging the shadows. Every step towards the field seemed to tighten the knot in my chest. I clenched my fists tighter around the bat, the wood solid and reassuring against my palms. Finally reaching the metal fence that separated us from the field, I peeked around it. The stadium lights were on, spilling a harsh, fluorescent glow over the turf. Laughter drifted through the cool night air, high and sharp. And then I saw them. My stomach turned. A small group of those fuckers gathered just like Alex had described, laughing, jeering at each other, and at the center of it, her Jenny. She was smiling. The kind of smile that used to light up a room. Only now it twisted into something dark, something that made my throat burn. David grunted under his breath. They have no clue we're coming. No, I whispered back. They don't. I gave a signal and we kept low, creeping around the edges of the field. Every step was careful. We moved like shadows, unnoticed, closer and closer. The cheers masked us, arrogant little shits, too caught up in their sick game. Joe, always the quieter one, was the first to break from our group as we reached the edge of the field. He didn't hesitate, his bat raised high before slamming into the first guy's leg. The sound was sharp, like cracking wood, but this was bone. The fucker dropped like a deer that had just been shot mid-leap. His scream cut short by surprise, his face crumpling in agony. I was already on the next one, my bat connecting with his back, hard. He hit the ground before he even registered what was happening. I didn't stop moving. My focus was clear. Every swing targeted, driving home the rage I'd buried for weeks. Joe and David were just as efficient. In the flurry, the laughter turned violent, jagged, as the players scrambled to shield themselves and failed. The thud of wood against flesh filled the air, joined by cries of pain. But their panic came too late. Jenny's laughter was gone. I glanced in her direction for a brief second, but it was enough to see her face. Pure shock, her knees wobbling, stepping back like she'd somehow just understood what this was. She tried to scream, but her voice broke into some choked, useless sound. I felt no pity. I kept swinging, my back connected with ribs, knees, everywhere that ached and screamed for them. Each blow felt sharper than the last. They were cowering now, some already down, clutching their sides or legs, some trying to crawl away, but none of them got far. We left the field without a word, just the sound of our shoes crunching in the dirt. The night air felt thick, heavier than it did when we'd arrived. Joe and David flanked me, both quiet, though I could feel their energy buzzing, like they were still riding the adrenaline high. My hands felt weird, still no shaking though. The van's engine purred as I drove us out. It wasn't a long drive, just enough to where no one would come looking. The outskirts, no lights, no houses, just empty fields, and that familiar smell of dry grass and dust. No one would bother us out here. David looked out the window, tapping his fingers on his knee like he couldn't sit still. Joe leaned back in the seat, breath coming slow, but his eyes kept darting to me. We parked near the old water tower. Shutting off the lights, the world plunged into pitch black for a second, until our eyes adjusted. I grabbed the trash bag from the back, motioning for the others to follow. The air smelled like rain, but no clouds in the sky. Just stars, blinking down like they were watching. But hell, let them watch. Dig it deep, I said, pulling the spade from the trunk. No point in wasting time. We all took turns digging, the earth hard beneath the shovel, each thrust making a quiet thud as it cut the dirt. Joe grunted with each scoop, and there was something unsettling about how calm it all felt. Just another job to finish up. Man, did you see their faces? David muttered, throwing his bat into the hole, like tossing a stone into a lake. That one dude, fuck, I think I broke his nose. Joe let out a low laugh, wiping some sweat from his forehead with the back of his gloved hand. Deserved it, every one of them. Reality felt stretched, like what we did back there wasn't even real. But then I looked down at the bat in my hand, and the streaks of blood still smeared along the wood tell me everything. I shoved it into the pit alongside David's. How far do we go? Joe asked. As far as it takes. Keep covering, I said, filling the hole. After that, we moved to the barrel, tossing in the bag of clothes. Black gloves, black shirts, black everything. They caught quickly, flames hungry as they licked up the fabric, eating every thread. The heat hit our faces in waves, smoke curling up in eerie little tendrils. Felt like this place could have existed in a different world. One where things like this were common. David poked at the flames with a stick. The embers popping and crackling. Should have seen the look on Jenny's face. Couldn't scream a damn word, man. Joe shook his head, smiling faintly. Bet none of them will forget that. Hell of a lesson. I didn't say anything, just watched the fire, feeding it until nothing remained. I kept my head down, like the entire thing had never happened. Same morning runs, same coffee order at the diner down the street, black, no sugar, and the same long hours at the office. I played the part. I was good at it. If anyone looked my way, they saw the same Mark they'd always known. Financial analyst, husband, pillar of normality. But inside, it was a whole different game. People talked. They always do. Did you hear about the football team? All of them, laid up with broken bones. You don't think it's that same thing from last summer, do you? Nah, it's different. Heard they messed with someone's girl. My wife. Every time I caught wind of it, whispers at the office, murmurs at the bar. It felt like someone driving a rusty nail a little deeper into my skull. I'd clench my jaw till it ached, forcing my eyes to stay blank, not giving them the satisfaction of seeing me twitch. Like I didn't know what they were really saying behind their hands, but I knew. Everyone knew. The worst part, they didn't blame her. No, Jenny was just the slut in their eyes, another town scandal they could pick apart for sport. They didn't care how it started or why. They cared about the spectacle, the gossip, and then moved on like it was just another headline in their small town lives. Dude, apparently Mark's wife, yeah, that Jenny chick, she was part of that whole thing. Their voices were always low, like maybe I wouldn't hear them, except I always did. Every word snapped right past my ears like bullets, none of them sticking to the wall like they should, unloading into my chest instead. People didn't look me in the eye anymore. Not really. You could see the thoughts right on the surface. Poor guy has no idea. Poor guy, clueless. But I wasn't clueless. I fucking orchestrated it. Every time I caught Jenny moving around the house, it sent a wave of disgust, fury, something close to both. She still went out like she had no idea what had happened to those bastards. She had to know, right? 1 month later, I sat at the kitchen table. Divorce papers laid out neatly in front of me. The sound of the clock ticking echoed off the walls, every second dragging me deeper into the stillness of the moment. I had rehearsed this already, played it out in my head 1,000 times. Now it was just time to get it done. No hesitation. I wasn't going to give her the satisfaction of dragging it out. No room for bargaining. No room for explanations. Jenny walked in, holding her phone in one hand, acting like she hadn't a care in the world. The realization that I used to love this woman hit me for a second, but only like a cold, distant reminder. That feeling was long gone now. Mark, what's this? Her eyes flicked to the papers. She laughed, more out of disbelief than humor. You know what it is, I said, my voice flat, drained of any real emotion. It's over, Jenny. She froze, her hand still clutching her phone like it was her last lifeline. Wait, you're serious. I stood up, took the pen sitting next to the papers, and placed it closer to her. We're done. I crossed my arms. Infidelity's the reason. Plain and simple, you get what's coming to you. Her laughter quickly turned into a strained smile. Mark, come on, we don't have to do this like this. Let's talk. I'm not interested in talking. My voice was sharp now, cutting straight through her flimsy bullshit. Her face shifted, panic creeping in. Mark, wait, don't do this. I can explain. I put my hand up, cutting her off before she could even finish. There's nothing to explain. Town's already buzzing with all the shit you've been pulling. I could almost taste the venom in my words. It tasted good, honestly. The whole place knows about you and them. I don't need the details. Everyone else already knows. I never meant for any of this, she yelled, her desperation getting the best of her as she stepped closer. I never meant to hurt you like this. I was lonely. You were so distant. Spare me. I shook my head. You're not lonely, Jenny. You're selfish. Her body tensed, and just when I thought she might actually shut up and sign the damn papers, she reached out and grabbed my arm, harder than I expected. There was something wild in her eyes now, a mix of anger and desperation swirling like a storm barely contained. "You think you know everything, Mark?" Her voice was shaky like she was about to crack in half. "You don't know the half of it." I rolled my eyes. More drama. Of course there was going to be this. Just sign that you don't fucking get it. She was spitting now, her grip tightening on me like she was trying to drag me into whatever twisted spiral of guilt she was drowning in. "Alex, your precious little brother. He was with me too." I froze. Each word hit like a hammer. No, a sledgehammer. I blinked, slowly turning to catch her stare. The way she was looking at me told me she wasn't lying. "Not this time." Her voice cracks a bit, gaining this twisted satisfaction from the reveal as she went on. "Yeah, your brother. He was drunk maybe, but he didn't stop. He had his fucking part, just like the rest. You're drunk." My words were automatic, like that was somehow going to make it disappear, but my chest started to burn. Deep down, I already knew this town's whispers had only scratched the surface. Jenny stepped back, flipping her hair over her shoulder with this ridiculous smirk. "Oh, he didn't tell you, did he? Poor Alex." Ashamed, she mocked, "But it happened more than once, Mark." I slammed my fist into the table, hard enough to knock the divorce papers off. "What the hell are you saying?" The next day, 1015 a.m., I heard the doorbell ring, pulling me out of my thoughts. I'd been sitting at the kitchen table, staring at the divorce papers for what felt like hours. With a sigh, I pushed myself up and walked to the front door. Opening it, I found Alex standing there, a nervous smile plastered on his face. My stomach twisted at the sight of him. "Hey bro, I've got some news," he began, trying to sound casual. "I met this new girl and I think she might be the one." I stared at him, keeping my face emotionless. "Really?" I replied slowly, my voice dripping with sarcasm. "Maybe I should fuck her too, just to be fair, since you fucked my wife." The color drained from Alex's face as my words hit him. His eyes widened, and he stumbled back a step. "Mark, I was drunk. I never meant," he stammered, his hands visibly shaking. "It was a mistake. I swear, I didn't know what I was doing. I've been trying to make things right." I cut him off sharply, my voice cold and edged with anger. "Make things right? You think you can make things right after that? After screwing my wife and lying to my face? You kept it from me for how long, Alex? Weeks? Months?" Alex's eyes welled up. Guilt and desperation etched across his features. "Mark, I'm sorry. I never wanted to hurt you. I was drunk. I wasn't thinking straight. It only happened a few times, I swear. I've been feeling sick about it ever since. That's why I didn't tell you. I couldn't face you." I took a step closer, my gaze boring into him. "So you let me suffer. Let me find out like this. Because you were too much of a coward to own up to your mistakes. You sat across from me, drank with me, while knowing you had betrayed me in the worst way possible." Alex's face crumpled, and he reached out, placing a hand on my shoulder. "Please, Mark, I'm still your brother. I messed up, but I'm here now. I want to fix this." I swatted his hand away, my voice rising. "Fix this? You think you can fix this, Alex? There's nothing left to fix. You've crossed a line that can never be uncrossed." Alex's expression hardened slightly. "What do you want me to do, Mark? I'm trying to make amends." "I'm trying to be honest now." I shook my head, a bitter laugh escaping my lips. "You're trying to make amends for yourself, not for me. You're here to ease your own guilt, not to help me. Well, guess what, Alex? I don't need your apologies. I don't need anything from you." The tension hung thick in the air between us. Alex's eyes darted around, his voice quieter now, filled with a desperate edge. "Mark, you can't just cut me out like this. We're family." My face hardened further, my eyes cold and unforgiving. Family. Family doesn't stab each other in the back. Family doesn't betray each other in the worst possible way. You've proven that you don't deserve to be called my brother anymore." Alex took a step back, his face a mixture of hurt and anger. "I messed up, okay? I know I did. But you're not perfect either, Mark. You're not exactly handling this like a saint." My jaw tightened, my voice deadly calm. No, I'm not perfect, but I never pretended to be something I'm not. I never betrayed the people I loved. You, on the other hand, you're just a liar and a cheat. Alex's eyes flashed with frustration, but he knew he was out of arguments. He sighed, resigned. Fine, Mark. If that's how you want it, I'll leave, but I just hope one day you can forgive me. I turned away, my voice firm and final. Don't count on it. Just go, Alex. You've done enough damage. I don't want to see you again. As Alex turned and walked away, his shoulders slumped in defeat. I watched him go, feeling a strange mix of sadness and relief. It was the end of another chapter, one that had been filled with betrayal, lies and pain, but as I closed the door behind him, I felt a weight lift from my shoulders. I knew I had done what I needed to do. Alex was gone, Jenny was out of my life, and the secrets and lies that had poisoned my world were finally being purged. The wounds were deep, but I was determined to heal. I sat down, staring at the divorce papers that Jenny had signed, a sense of finality settling over me. I realized that I was done looking back, done searching for explanations or apologies that would never come. I had faced the darkest side of those I loved and survived. Now, it was time to move forward. I took a deep breath, feeling the fresh air filling my lungs, and looked out the window at the world outside. A world that felt new, filled with possibilities. I was ready to leave the pain behind and start anew. Start anew. Start anew. Start anew. Hey everyone, if you found this story gripping and want to hear more crazy ones like this, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more jaw-dropping tales every week. Don't forget to turn on notifications so you never miss an update. If you have your own wild stories to share or ideas you'd like us to bring to life, drop them in the comments. I'd love to hear them. Thanks for watching.